And that does it for episode 385 of Top Rope Nation. I am your host, Jesse Velasquez. We played the wrong intro music for our YouTube subscribers.
That's
I'm
awesome.
just, I'm delirious at this point. It's okay. So if you hear this on podcast stream, you're getting the normal music. As you know, my name's Jesse. I am sidelined by the man, the myth, the legend, Justin Joint. How are you?
I am mighty fine, mighty fine, sir. My favorite football club, if you will, just ended their 17-year trophy drought, their first European trophy in almost 40, or actually I think 41 years. It's been fun. A lot of my teams have won recently, but the way that uh, football teams, soccer teams celebrate winning is just so much fun to follow on social medias and with the parade and all of that stuff. I've been just having a blast on all my social accounts, and factor in watching a freaking terrific wrestling show last night.
Give me a quick snippet of like what those Tottenham celebrations have been like.
A lot of booze, smoke bombs. It's kind of hard to explain, man. I would kind of recommend you hopping on like Spurs official Instagram and just buzzing through some of those, because it's just the fans have been so desperate for this for so long. And I can't even include myself in that, because I've truly only been a fan since maybe 2010, 2011, somewhere along there. But some of these folks, they've been waiting for this for, some people their whole lives. But it's been just wild seeing the scenes.
We definitely have like sporting moments that touch our heartstrings.
Yeah.
As you can see out there, I'm wearing a Minnesota Timberwolves t-shirt. I am going to the game tonight, game 4 in Minneapolis. And
Go
we have,
Wolves.
Minnesota, we have not experienced a male professional sports championship since 1991.
Whew. Boy, I tell you what, the Wolves can get past OKC. I think both the West teams are way better than the East teams, even though the Pacers have been looking really good.
I am going to agree with you on that. And then one last housekeeping item, or we're going to get to the housekeeping item in a minute, but one last story. So a former TRN host here guided me via his shoot job to a little income on Saturday night. I would like to send a shout out to him and the Wolves as well for that 42-point blowout win. Let's go. All right. Professional wrestling, everybody. We're going to thank our wonderful patrons. And as you know, Ryan Drosty is not with us right now. He did drop his thoughts on BR Live last night. So you can find those at patreon.com/Top Rope Nation. You can also watch on the YouTube channel by becoming a TRN Plus subscriber on said YouTube channel. These are some of the finest people in the United States and the United Kingdom. I think we may even have a Canadian in there. Regardless, he's just as fine. So, as you can see the scroll down there, we're going to hit this very fast and very hard. That is not what she said. Justin, Double or Nothing, your grade. What do you got?
I'm going to give it, whoa. Too soon. I'm going to give it an A. All right. It's as per usual, it's too much. It's too long. There is a lot of bloat. And unlike some of the other pay-per-views, and actually I could knock it down to an A- for this, because unlike some of the other recent AEW pay-per-views where it maybe wasn't as clear to me as to what matches could be cut, this one, I could see all the stuff that could be cut to streamline this show into an A+. But, anytime you're walking away from a show, and I legit have 5 matches that I will probably happily go back and rewatch. I mean, how could you not get into that A range?
Yes, for now, and I can change this in the next 35 minutes. A-. 0 arguments. The both Owen matches over-delivered, I felt. Okada, Mike Bailey over-delivered, I felt. And there wasn't a stinker in there for me. Everything was at least average to great.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the crowd was very good. Kind of hard, especially when they're sitting there for 4.5 hours, Justin.
Yeah. They stayed with it. I think Anarchy in the Arena really took it out of them for a while. And obviously, you had the cool down match right after that. And it even felt like going into the main event, it took a while for them to ramp back up. But, by the last half of that match, they were all in. Can I begin with what I think is the big story here?
Let's do it.
Let's get the music going here. So I'm not on Twitter anymore. And I can only imagine what's going on over there, what they're saying. I've pretty well manufactured my social media so that I'm kind of seeing just what I want to see. But I want to get ahead of what I assume some of the trolls are saying, some of the drama kings are saying. And unfortunately, I think the big story coming out of Double or Nothing, Will Ospreay's buried. We got to say goodbye to him, you know. They just as well release him. Now that, you know, he's lost this big match, there's nowhere for him to go. But I will remember you, Will Ospreay. You will not be forgotten anytime soon.
I should have wore black for this.
Now, obviously, I am being sarcastic. Will Ospreay is fine. But Jesse, I know it was a toss-up all the way going into this match as to who was going to win. I think you and me were both pretty convinced it was Will Ospreay. Ryan was convinced it should be and would be Hangman. You know, a lot of people on my socials were in Hangman's corner. There, you know, like on our last podcast, I said I think there was a big groundswell for Hangman to win this. Storyline wise, it made a lot of sense for Hangman to win this. Character arc wise, it made all the sense in the world for Hangman to win this. And with all that being said, I was shocked that he won. Like, I guess, you know, deep in my heart, maybe not my heart, but my head, I was convinced it was going to be Will Ospreay. And it was a pleasant surprise, you know, because I do agree with, you know, the storyline character stuff that it should be Hangman. But wow. I said before the show that I thought Ospreay needed this more than Hangman. And honestly, after seeing the show, I think I was wrong. I think Hangman really needed this one. You know, part of the reason I feel like you strike now with Ospreay is simply because his wrestling style worries me about, you know, his long-term viability as a wrestler, because he just, you know, one bad injury and that's going to completely change his wrestling style, and he might not ever be the same Ospreay again. So that's really the main reason I think you strike now. But they could be building a very interesting story here with him, with always kind of falling short in the big matches. So when he does, and he most certainly will, barring injury, become AEW World Champion at some point, the crowd's going to go crazy for it. It's going to be an incredible moment, but Hangman should be the one to take the title from Mox. And I guess we can also talk about if we think that's actually going to happen at All In.
Couple of quick things. Puff Dutch, we are going to get back to you in that question because I like it. Yeah, I think Will Ospreay he in a different character arc is going to turn into what Hangman Page has just experienced over the last 2 years. It's exactly what we're watching. I was perfectly okay with the decision. Disclaimer, I was so tired. I fell asleep a couple of times during the main event. I did not have it in me. I did watch it clear-headed this morning just fine, so I know exactly, every single talking point possible. This match, and we mentioned Will Ospreay's character arc always falling short. This was a New Japan style match that I thoroughly enjoyed. They beat the ever-loving piss out of each other for 37 minutes. Will worked a different style. It reminded me a lot of my favorite trilogy in New Japan with him and Shingo Takagi. That is easily my favorite Will Ospreay opponent, and Hangman had some of those variables coming into this.
Okay.
And seeing that outcome last night, he absolutely deserves it. There's zero question about it. He's been the lead character since probably 2021, the end of it. So we're sitting on 4 years. And now he has the opportunity to rescue the championship from Jon Moxley, who's been holding it hostage for close to 8 months. It's that simple.
Yep. So what percentage would you put on Hangman actually winning the title at All In?
Ooh, it's high. I probably 80.
Yeah, I'd probably be. Although, it's interesting. I think part of the reason I wanted Ospreay to win, because I felt like that was more of a sure thing that he would win it All In. And honestly, one of my first thoughts after Hangman won was a little bit questioning if, he can beat Moxley at All In. Especially because the thought was, talking about the women and who we thought were going to win those matches is you and me, or actually you are the one who convinced me.
Yes.
You saved Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné for a main event pay-per-view. And it's like, well, what if they let them main event All In? And that can really make you start to wonder if Mox goes on, especially with Forbidden Door going to England. Following that, maybe you go right back to Will Ospreay. I don't know. But for me, I've said it before, I don't think you can do that. This is your WrestleMania, a big stadium show. I don't think you can do that to those fans, to have Moxley retain. If they do truly main event the show, Mox and Hangman, I think I would almost go even higher than 80%. It's got to be Hangman coming out of it.
I would put it at 100. And if that were the case, of course, and yet there's this kind of seed in the back of my mind that goes, oh, there's Forbidden Door, and there's the question that Puff Dutch is asking here. We'll sidetrack a little. Who does Ospreay face in Texas at All In?
No idea. I have absolutely no idea right now. Obviously, me joking about Will Ospreay being buried, because if you watch the media scrum afterwards, how highly Tony Khan thinks of Will Ospreay and how important he is to the company, he's going to have something big. But as to what that is, I don't know. Obviously we can't really see where MJF is going right now, but I'd be shocked if they ran back that match from last year's All In. My thoughts is there's still going to be something going on between MJF and the Hurt Business. But what's the other big name out there that he can work with?
There isn't much. There isn't much in terms of that top hierarchy. The cupboard is just a smidgen bare. I think it's way, way, way too soon to throw a guy like Gabe Kidd in that scenario, who just entered the promotion, who's already had a great match with Kenny Omega. Maybe they light it up in 3 months, or 2 months, but I think still that's way too soon.
We don't know what direction Ricochet is heading, but it feels like we've already seen enough matches between those two. Even though Ospreay did work a little heel-ish in the main event, I would be stunned if they turned him, because then you think about some of the guys that could be returning, guys who I actually thought would show up on this show, with Copeland and Eddie Kingston. Those don't really make a whole lot of sense, although please inject Will Ospreay and Eddie Kingston into my veins. I would love to see how the hell that match would work. I don't know. It's going to be interesting though. Like I said, with how highly Tony Khan thinks of him, he's got to have something in his back pocket. Maybe they do, because the thought was we were going to see Swerve and Hangman versus the Bucks. Well, maybe you just insert Ospreay in there instead of Hangman. You get Swerve and Ospreay versus the Bucks.
Wow. Oh, yikes. That's got 4.5 stars written all over it just to start. Yeah. I was thinking Gabe Kidd, kind of getting off track. Gabe Kidd, Eddie Kingston at All In, or Forbidden Door, because they do have some beef.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where Eddie's going to go storyline wise.
Do you want to throw Carl's comment up there? The most recent one?
Let's do it to it. Tyler, it's cool that you were in attendance.
Yes, very cool.
Amazing stuff. Your first AEW experience as well. Yeah, I mean, you can't do any better than that. It's a
hell of a first AEW show to go to.
Which, by the way, real quick, cagematch.net has this as the highest rated AEW pay-per-view of all time at this moment. That's going to change, I think, because there's probably about half the votes you usually get. Here's the question from Carl. Is there a universe where Tony Khan, that is, thinks he can have Mox retain, but Darby returns to confront him as a feel-good moment?
So if you listen to the pod, you know how down I am on what has kind of become the WWE main event style match, where it's a lot of shenanigans, guys running in. It's just gotten so old because they use it so much. But I honestly think that Mox Hangman is the perfect situation to break out that kind of match. Where I mean, imagine, you know, Hangman's trying to fight off Mox and all of the Death Riders, you know, halfway into the match, and Swerve comes out and saves him. But then, you know, he fights away one of the guys, and then I think that's maybe you could have Ospreay come and make a save, and that's where I think you have Darby come in to make a big return, a big save, help Hangman win the title against Mox, and then there you go, you have your Mox Darby program without the title, because as freaking cool as it was that Darby summited Mount Everest and broke out an AEW flag, I just now to me is not the right time to put him uh, in the main event world championship. Just if only because of all the other guys that are kind of in line for that we'd prefer to see, like Hangman, Ospreay, Swerve. I wouldn't hate seeing Darby as world champion at some point, but now is just not the time. I would have Mox and Darby feud through the summer and fall.
Yes, that's probably an all-out match, and as the kids would say these days, Darby went off the grid just for a little bit. So, yeah, all these guys that have stayed here in 2025 and have actually breathed a lot of life into what was a upcoming promotion. Again, you could see the signs of it starting to scale right back up, but now we're getting to a point where they're starting to reclaim that magic from the end of 2021, the summer of 2021 with Punk as well. And we can see a certain Texas Deathmatch shirt there on Justin Joint's shirt.
I'm glad you brought up Punk because, you know, the thing that Hangman's been talking about, he's been saying the last 2 years has been his struggle of not winning any titles or any tournaments. But the real story goes back exactly 3 years ago for Double or Nothing, where he lost the title to a guy who kind of tore apart this company, you know, tore apart the fan base, kind of tore apart wrestling fandom in general. And so that's just one more check mark as to why he should be the guy to reclaim the title because of what it cost him 3 years ago.
A lot. He wasn't even the featured player in, or he was the main event, but there were CM Punk, MJF, and Mox and Bryan Danielson that were upstaging him at that time. Then the big Swerve feud where Swerve was getting the edge. Yeah, that going on. So yes, he's been going through some depths, and the fans are truly invested in Adam Hangman Page. And the match itself, like we said, was match of the year quality. I don't think it was not quite the match of the year, but you can throw it in the discussion at the moment. Probably top 5.
Was that your match of the night?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
It was.
It had a little bit too much of kind of what I can have issues with Will Ospreay matches where, I mean, for me, that match, again, kind of to my beginning point, you probably could have easily cut 10 minutes out of that match. So there was just a bit too much going on that match. And that's, I mean, I loved it. You know, it's a 4+ star match for me, but it could have been more, in my opinion, if they just cut some out. Boy, I think my match of the night was either Anarchy in the Arena, which we need to talk about, or honestly, it probably was the show opener with Jamie Hayter and Mercedes Moné. Another incredible opening match for an AEW pay-per-view. Another match I think we were all a little bit torn on who would win. I was pretty surprised how much the crowd was split, 50-50 for both of them. But, you know, after Mercedes won, and you see Ryan mentioned this in his Bleacher Report review. Once you see that graphic of Mercedes Moné and Tony Storm, you know, you're trying to put butts in seats for a huge stadium show. It makes all the sense in the world. That is a huge match. But holy shit, that match was incredible. There's just such a sense of danger when you have someone who can lay it in so well, like Jamie Hayter, and someone who might be the best bumper and seller in the entire industry in Mercedes Mone. And it had an urgency to it, like they were both really out there wanting to win this thing. They weren't doing what can happen in a lot of wrestling matches where it becomes more performative and less of a fight. But holy shit. And that DDT to finish it, my God, I was so relieved to see Jamie roll away right away, because I was really concerned. That looked brutal, but God damn, what a match.
Before I'm going to close the Ospreay Hangman talk, and I'm going to go right to exactly what you're just talking about. Yeah, like I said, with that New Japan style match, that's exactly what that was. It was 37 minutes. You could have chopped off 5 for sure. Yeah. I just felt like there was really good drama, and they were doing a really good job selling. I felt they were down for the huge moves, which is super important. That's something that's always a criticism with a Will Ospreay match, is he pops up immediately from Impact and just goes right back to it. I felt these guys paced it very well. So that's why that was my thoughts on that.
Well, and to your, what you just said about you fell asleep a couple of times, because it is so late, and I do need to rewatch it, because I was awfully tired at that point too. So
Mercedes Jamie, though, Ooh. Yes, was that Mercedes' best match in AEW?
I think I might like the Statlander one more. No, the Athena one. God, I don't know, man.
That was very good.
Those 3, she just does not miss in these big matches. She is on one hell of a roll, and truly, this might be her apex right now. She's at the top of her game, and it's going to be real interesting considering the roles she is on right now, but also, the fact that Toni Storm is, one of, if not the best character in all of professional wrestling right now. Geez, we've been talking about, toss-ups as to who's going to win about Double or Nothing, but goddamn, that's another one. I have no idea.
This is an even larger toss-up for me. With Mercedes wrestling Stephanie Vakir last year at Forbidden Door, Vakir is putting in some tremendous work in NXT and the main roster over there too. Mercedes is on fire. Yeah. So it's a marquee headlining match that Tony Khan right now is openly telling you that this card coming up in July might be the biggest in AEW history at this point.
It's looking like it so far with some of the matches we assume are going to happen.
You have the 2 best women performers in the company. One from an in-ring perspective, the other character-wise, it's not close. You have the best character going after the AEW World title against a veteran who is hitting stride again, I feel. A little bit of a lull with some of the opponents. And then, just look at everything else. That there's just so much to build upon. Was there anything else that you want to touch on with Mercedes and Jamie Hayter? And then Athena as well, I guess would be a good question, because she's been promoted so much. Like, what happens with her? You mentioned that last night.
Yeah. We wonder what Will's going to do at All In, but the other big question is, what's Athena going to do? I'm okay with Hayter and Athena. They'd have a lot to do to get people invested in that match, but goddamn, would that deliver in the ring?
It most certainly would. And again, you got a month and a half to do it. Athena's a heel in a lot of cases. So 21 minutes for that opener, by the way, which was long. But let's get into the next one that was longer and felt every bit of that 23 minutes and 30 seconds. And we love Nigel McGuinness. But this match overstayed its welcome. FTR got the W. Anything major here for you?
It's so nice to have heel FTR back. They are so good at, doing the cosplay of the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, but in a modern sense. They're just so good at that. And I like this match a lot, but there's just no reason for it to be almost 23 minutes. Like, that just boggles my mind, especially, everybody knows going into these pay-per-views, they're going to be long. And, we had 2 matches in the first hour, and it's like, oh, shit. God damn, we're going to be in for a long night. But right team won. I really liked the finish. They still, Danny Garcia looked strong, even in losing. Kind of surprised, being that Nigel is just part-time, that he didn't take the L. But good stuff. I enjoyed it. It's just too long.
Yep, I definitely agree here, Carl. To your point, I agree with this as well. Right, moving Mone winning just because it's going to be huge, and you would have her go over in Texas. That's an interesting take. I honestly think I at this moment I would too, but can always change my mind over the next 6 weeks and see what Tony Storm does. So
Agree. Yeah, I have to give it more thought before I can really know who I'm going to be thinking could come out the winner in that one.
100%. Let's move to what ended up being surprisingly one of the better matches on this card: Ricochet and Mark Briscoe in a stretcher match.
Oh, real quick, I agree with you, Carl. I was fully expecting Copeland to show up in that FTR match. Was very surprised he didn't. But at the same time, it's like, the pay-per-view is bought. Why not just save that for television?
Yes. Oh, real quick, I need sharpshooter thoughts on Daniel Garcia, Hangman Page.
And Dax.
Well, Dax, we know he's got a great sharpshooter.
Yeah.
What about Daniel? We talked about Daniel Garcia in the past. What about Hangman?
Great. This was tell you what, this was one hell of a night for sharpshooters and drop kicks. One hell of a night for sharpshooters and drop kicks.
Oh, the return of the drop kick. We'll get to that in a minute. Ricochet, Mark Briscoe. Wow.
Okay. So I must have just been dragged through the mud of like 15, 20 years of WWE PG versions of stretcher matches when it's just kind of super gimmicky. This is the match to me that over delivered. This far exceeded my expectations, which was kind of silly on my part because Mark Briscoe always delivers. The way that legends talk about Randy Orton is actually how I feel about Mark Briscoe. He is always in the right spots in the right moment in a match. Everything connects, everything makes sense. But the thing that he has that Randy Orton doesn't have, in my opinion, is his match feel violent. They feel like truly a fight. And again, to kind of, a criticism a lot of modern wrestling, where it just feels overly performative. That's not a Mark Briscoe match. This was incredible. I still do not understand how someone with Ricochet's wrestling style is this freaking good as a heel. He is such a good shit ass. It's just so enjoyable. I loved this match. Loved it.
Yeah, did not expect this on the Trevor Man bingo card at any stage of his career whatsoever. The camera work on this, when they showed the panning of the scissors and the blood, I believe it was right after the match, felt like a scene out of Dexter in the original 2 seasons. That hit my heartstrings too. We'll get to Mark Briscoe a little bit later on in the show because, surprise, surprise, he'd make an appearance. This sneakily it's in my top either 3 or 4 matches. I haven't decided that yet. I have to go back. But this is worth a rewatch for anybody out there.
I would
Briscoe,
actually
consummate pro.
Yeah, I would actually probably say this is number 2 for me for match of the night behind the opener.
It was legit. I mean, yeah, if this is one of those matches you have to go out of your way to see for sure.
All-time blade job from Mark.
Holy cow, was that ever? Yeah, within that first minute, you were just like, what is going on here? That is a gash. All right, short and sweet on this one. Hurt Syndicate retain over the Sons of Texas, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes. I actually didn't mind this match too much, to be honest, but it just felt out of place after what we had just seen.
I did not, I defended the Hurt Syndicate tag being on the previous pay-per-view. I was okay with that. I really didn't like it here. I hate that bullshit of like, don't use the weapon. Don't use the weapon. Oh, I'll use the weapon. Or, hey, it's okay now. I was just pretending. That outside of the ring crap with the ring with MJF and Lashley. I don't get it. I don't think it makes any sense. I think it takes away from the match. Really did not care for this. Sammy Guevara is kind of a perfect opponent for the Hurt Syndicate.
Mm-hmm.
That part of it was really good. But other than that, man, yeah, not a fan.
Yeah, that's it. It was an interesting operation. Bobby Lashley with the spear through the guardrail felt WWE-ish. At least it wasn't on the timekeeper side.
Yeah, yep. It wasn't in the same exact spot that it always happens in a WWE match.
I'm glad you're taking my side on this. When I did that 2 pay-per-views ago, I said the Hurt Syndicate match shouldn't have been on there against the Outrunners. And I got a little bit of heat for that.
Yeah, I've come around. I'm on your side now, at least on this show.
Yeah, for sure. This one also surprised me, but it shouldn't because this was a very good wrestling match. Kazuchika Okada retaining over Speedball Mike Bailey.
Again, loved it. This was one of the 5 matches that I will happily go back and watch. Speedball felt like kind of the perfect opponent for Okada because, a lot of people tend to think that Okada can kind of lazy his way through matches if he's not fully invested. But I think with the way Speedball kicks the shit out of you, it's going to bring out the fight in his opponent. And that was certainly the case here. And goddamn that finish. That was a beautiful thing.
This is the
shooting star press into the drop kick. God damn, that spot goes wrong in so many matches, but this was perfection.
This is the number one reason why you bring Mike Bailey into your promotion is to elevate people. Because like you said, Okada's been snoozing his way through. He had to bring a little bit of his magic from his New Japan days and get himself prepped for something coming down the road in about a month and a half. Go ahead.
And I was just, I don't really believe that about Okada, about him like kind of being lazy through matches. I mean, he's kind of on a streak of bangers also. I just know that that's kind of a perception from part of the fan base.
Let's go real fast on this one. What do you think about Briscoe holding that unified international and continental title after things start to blow through?
A-okay by me. Would love to see it. Would love to see Briscoe in a higher spot in the card.
Absolutely. No, and then like Okada's drop kicks are super lethal. And now again, I mean, Mike Bailey at some point is going to need a character, but look at what he's doing just in ring already. It's automatic why you brought him in. Absolutely love what he's done so far.
I think it's a perfect use for him. I had a lot of questions about him coming in, but him just having banger matches and losing like a super job guy, I'm just fine with that.
He's very good at it. And that's what he's very good at in the independents too. Look at his win-loss record. It's like 50%. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Toni Storm, we already mentioned her earlier, retaining over Mina Shirakawa in about 16 minutes. And the Okada match was also 16 minutes.
Full confession, I actually missed 2 matches. I missed most of this one because I was helping get my son to bed. And then I missed the 6-man tag, the cool down match, if you will, because I had to do some cleanup in the kitchen. So I missed this one. I heard it was good.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, but again, it was anticlimactic. Toni Storm, we knew was going to retain. Everyone's talking about, of course, the magical kiss between the two at the end of the match.
I'm okay with it. It fits Toni's character perfectly.
It really does, especially with her slap tarts. Yes.
It's basically just a different version of, Hangman and Ospreay shaking hands at the end. Imagine if they had closed the show kissing.
That would have been interesting. Were you a little bit surprised Mariah May didn't show here?
No, I know Ryan brought that up, that he thought that could be a place where she could come back. For me, I don't know if I would have her come back and put her immediately with Toni again.
You can't.
Their feud ending match was just so perfect to me that I probably wouldn't touch that for a while. So when she comes back, I would not have her come back having anything to do with Toni for now.
Agreed, especially if Mariah's contract gets extended for a few more years. That's something you wait until the end of the contract for.
Yeah.
Makes life easy. All right, Anarchy in the Arena, 35 minutes long. Give me your takes on this one.
I think it was the second best one ever. I thought it was an absolute blast.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a lot of criticism online for the music and the comedy spots. Those did not really bother me at all. I mean, I did get a little annoyed with the drowning pool eventually. And that's just because sure. I'm an old grumpy man now and I don't really care for that song anymore. And I don't need to hear it like 5 times in a row. But this was a really fun match. Loved the staple spots. Those were so fun. It got to a point where it was like, especially when they did the staple into Swerve's tongue, I was like, oh, so there's not actually staples in there. You just get the effect of the sound, and because they're not showing anything. But Swerve showed it at the end. He had a fucking staple in his tongue. Unbelievable. That dude is just nuts. There's a lot to like in this match. I loved how they presented our boy Hobbs. Mm-hmm. He looked tremendous. They made him look like a monster. Hook came out. That was weird. Didn't care
That's
for
very
that.
weird.
That was maybe the low point of the match for me. But yeah, I just thought this was a blast.
I think easily my highlight of that match had nothing to do with anybody getting beat up. It was Powerhouse Hobbs and Willow Nightingale with their bigger, blacker, and better t-shirts on, just posing in front of the camera.
Probably not a shirt I'm going to be buying or wearing. I don't know if that would make sense.
Well, it actually, I did see somebody about a year ago sporting one that happened to be a Caucasian male. That was very interesting to say the least. Do you remember the spot off the top of your brain, the one where Powerhouse Hobbs was getting hit with something and he no-sold it? That's when I said Powerhouse Hobbs in the chat was greater than 50 Cent because he's been shot at not as much. But.
Yeah, he took a couple chair shots from, I think, God, who was it? Claudio and Shafira, I believe.
Oh, Marina Shafir.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was dope. I thought for sure the Death Riders and Bucks were going to win. You know, keep them looking strong going into All In. But I kind of like this, where this kind of maybe could be a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe a sneak peek into the unraveling of the Death Riders going into All In, where Mox could drop the title. This is the first pin to drop, if you will.
I don't know if there's a good way to say this. I'm going to do the absolute best that I can. I felt that the male on female violence was tastefully done here.
Yeah, it didn't bother me at all.
Not
in general,
at all.
It's kind of a fine line how you execute that, and I thought they executed that just perfectly here. Tyler in the chat, more fun in person. My favorite Anarchy Arena was the first one, and that was probably because I was there live in person. It is definitely a match built for being there live. They did do the 4 screens to kind of help you catch everything. I didn't really care for that. I'm kind of fine with not knowing what's going on. It helps with the chaotic feeling as you're watching it at home. But yeah, I just had a blast watching this, man.
This was a lot of fun. I'm going to get to his comment here as well, and just the differences between, of course, and this is the only time we'll bring it up, is WWE focusing more on storylines and AEW is focusing on the best professional wrestling. Yes, I will say this as well, though, is that AEW's stories over this year alone have been on par with the WWE, if not maybe a little bit better. That's just a personal man's opinion.
What do you think about Anarchy in the Arena? Right? Did the right team win?
Ooh. I think if you want to cast some shadow of doubt into the main event later, I think with Moxley's team, I thought that's why they were going to win. I felt that to keep them looking a little bit stronger heading into Texas. That whole side too with the Bucks also.
Yeah. I mean, they did keep Moxley out of the finish, which is smart. But I mean, just seeing all the baby faces on the stage at the end celebrating, even Mark Briscoe being there, I just thought that was really cool. And speaking of which, the entire presentation for the entire night was top notch, and some of the best, stage design and entrances and special entrances. That guy's got Swerve as the fucking Predator. Hell yes, that was awesome. It just might have been the best version of that AEW has ever done.
They also brought back the original AEW ring from Double or Nothing in 2019. I just remember that whole image vividly, being in one of the top decks at the MGM Grand for that very first pay-per-view. It was a great touch to it.
Yeah, so much fun. It can be pretty hit or miss with this match, but this one definitely hit for me.
I completely agree. And then do you like the ending with Swerve and the tax on the shoe or on his Iverson threes to Mr. Nicholas Jackson or Matt? I think it was Matt.
I said it in the group. I love Swerve Strickland. I love Allen Iverson. I think those shoes might be kind of ugly, but I did like the spot. I thought that was cool. Kind of a throwback to the numerous times that the Bucks have had gimmicked shoes in these big matches. So yeah, I thought that was kind of pitch perfect.
Oh, it really was. And then the inclusion of Gabe Kidd as well, I think. And then Mark Briscoe coming out with dried blood, just coming back from the hospital or just wherever he came from, was also a nice added touch. We thought Eddie Kingston was going to be the one emerging there.
Yeah. Yep. Again, thought somebody's coming up, but I'm A-okay with them saving it for television.
All right, last point on Carl. We're going to skip the Paragon versus the Don Callis family because I was kind of tuning out at that point, and that's
I
no
missed it.
offense because I love Takeshita, I love Kyle Fletcher,
Yes.
I'm and Josh Alexander. I'm a fan of too, but yeah,
Hopefully, what this is leading to is Fletcher going after the TNT title, Cole's TNT title, going through Kyle O'Reilly, going through Roderick Strong to get to Cole. I think Fletcher Cole at All In would be a smart move.
this was an interesting topic that we talked about last night in our group chat. The balance of the music and the comedy spots. Did you think that was great? I mean, that's always been a touch with Anarchy in the Arena to me, so I
Yeah,
was perfectly fine with it.
it's part of the match. I mean, it's not like it shocked me that why are they doing all this music thing, or why is there a little bit of comedy here? I love that. I'm so excited when they played that. I never thought I'd be watching a kind of a hardcore match with Shibata fighting to I'm so excited. It's just not something I thought I would ever see.
I don't think he ever would either. Oh, that was amazing stuff. Well, I know we're on a time crunch, so we're hitting it here
Yeah,
pretty soon.
I think we're done.
We pretty much are. I'm rolling the scroll down here on the patrons one more time because I'm going to highlight the two new ones that I saw at the bottom. But Justin, do you have any other closing thoughts here on the show itself?
No, I loved it. I need to go back and rewatch the main event again because
Mhm.
of how tired I was. But I do wish they would shorten the matches. I was pleasantly surprised by the winner of the main event. There was just so much good stuff on this. AEW does not miss when it comes to their pay-per-views. They are on a hot streak right now, heading into one of their biggest shows ever. It's a good time to be watching AEW, man. I'm excited for Wednesday. I'm excited to see what Will Ospreay's next step is. I mean, LFG, let's fucking go.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing for me, especially Osprey fan in terms of the planet. Devin Brown and Grant Owens are our newest patrons. Thank you so much for your support and
Yeah,
all of the
welcome.
lovely United Kingdom, United States, and I believe one Canadian patron as
Nice.
well. We had a very active chat here this afternoon on a Memorial Day. Shout out to all of those veterans who served and those who we have lost. I have my grandfather, my favorite human on the planet Earth, served in World War II as a pilot. So always hold them close to the heart.
Yeah. I echo those sentiments.
All right. Tyler, thank you so much for the edition. Huffman, as always, we didn't really highlight you much, but we know we love you, and Carl is as well. So, any other closing thoughts, Justin, joint, before we get out of here?
I just need the Wolves to win for you tonight, buddy. I just need that so bad.
Please and thank you. I hope that atmosphere is the exact same as when I watched it on TV from a casino on Saturday night. Totally different thing. So, Skull Wolves, as we say here in Minnesota. For Justin Joint, my name is Jesse Velasquez. That has been episode 385 of Top Rope Nation. Patrons, you're getting paid. TRN Unplugged will be dropping on Thursday this week instead, highlighting ECW 1995. I think we'll be back on the air over the weekend as a possibility, maybe some more AEW follow up and give you a little bit of WWE. But for now, 385 is in the books. We'll see you very, very soon. Happy Memorial Day.
Come on, you Spurs.